I'm speechless. There are, I may repeat myself for those of you who were up there at the beginning of the ride, but I have to be honest with you. When I think back about my memories back in Beijing and what I really remember about Beijing, I don't remember the race very much. It was such a pain cave that when people say, what was that like? I'm like, I don't remember. But I think it's best that you don't remember because you're in such a tunnel vision and your endorphins are so high that you can't remember much. But I do remember. So there's a rolling enclosure on the roads, and all the competitors come out that are doing the time trial, and they get to pre-ride the course, and it's together. Well, the motorcycles are in front and behind us, and they start, and everyone takes off like it's a race. And I'm like, oh no, I'm still hurting really bad, and all my competitors are going like they're racing today. And I was off the back. I was like, I can't hardly pedal. I'm really hurting. So, I went back to the hotel that day, and part of my recovery procedure is I get massage. I take ice baths, and I do this thing. I put my legs in this thing called Normatec, and it puffs up really loud, big, and it kind of helps flush the blood, and it's supposed to recover you. And I drink lots of, recovery drink. I drink chocolate milk, and I mean, you can even get that in England. It's crazy. But I'm thinking, I kind of had my hip. I talked myself into believing that my hip was hurting. So I'm like, oh, I need a chiropractor. So, of course, the team finds a chiropractor. And so this all starts off. I ride Tuesday at 9:30. I'm off my bike at 11:30. At noon, I have massage. At about 1 o'clock, I eat lunch. At about 1:30, I have a chiropractor appointment. I come home. I get in the ice bath. I put those legs on, those space legs. And I'm like, I still hurt. So then I decided that I'm going to order some more ice to my hotel room. That gets delivered. I go out to eat. I sit in my hotel room because I don't feel like sitting at a restaurant because I am just beside myself because my legs hurt so bad. And then I put those space boots on again before I go to bed, and I'm like, oh no, I'm just hoping for the best tomorrow. But hey, the positive side is I still had like 10 hours till I raced. A lot of things can happen in 10 hours. And it's kind of like, a deadline, in like a big corporation, and you have this big, deadline proposal, and don't tell me you get it done 10 hours before it's due. It's not true. So same thing with athletic legs. They're not ready till they're ready. So that morning I went out, and the roads were closed. There was so much security on the roads that I tried to get on the course, and my hotel was right on the start-finish line, and there was people lined up every 10 feet. And I got on, and they're like, ma'am, you need to get off your bike right now. And I'm like, no, I need to get on the course. Ma'am, get off your bike now. And I'm off my bike, and I'm halfway in tears because this is just not going my way, and I can't get out of a hotel and ride. And so finally this police officer sees me, and he sees that I'm really upset. And I said, I'm just a competitor here, and all I want to do is ride the course. And so he looked at me, and he had a motorcycle, and he said, just follow me, ma'am. So he took me. I was the only athlete on the course that morning because I got an escort from a cop because I was kind of sad. So after that ride, I was like, wow, I feel really good. And when Lance Armstrong says he feels really good, he gets on the radio to his teammates and he says, no chain, no chain. That means you feel like you have no chain on that day. It feels so smooth. No resistance. And I'm like going out there, and there was a little bit of climbing, and I'm like, don't test your legs, Kristin. Don't test them. Nope, they're good, they're good. And my coach, when I got home, he was like, how are your legs today? I'm like, fine. And he was like, all right, I think you're ready because you're all stressed out. I'm like, yep. And he, Joe, in fact, had asked Jim, oh, what do you think about Kristin? You think she's ready? And Jim's like, oh, yeah, she snapped at me like a couple times already. She's fired up. So because I had the number 1 on my back and I was able to go last, it's a great thing because you have the time splits, but it's also nerve-wracking because you have to sit in that start house and wait for that time to go. So I sat there and I was nervous, as you can even imagine. And then for those of you who saw me on the TV, it wasn't a joke. I was getting very upset at the person who was holding me because when they held me, they're supposed to hold me still, and I was like leaned to the right, thinking I'm going to fall off my bike. And so I said to the left, and he leaned me more to the right. And I don't know if he was going to his right or whatever right he was going to. So I thought I was going to fall over. Then I said left. I'm thinking the whole time this is going to be really embarrassing in front of everybody when I fall. So it all worked out. And that day was so similar to Beijing. I was focused, tunnel vision. My coach in my radio, he would tell me time splits, but I didn't hear because the crowds were so loud and cheering so loud. I couldn't hear. But I kept telling myself that he must have said I was down. I better go harder. He told me I was down for sure. So I just kept on going harder and harder, but every time he told me to put a little bit more power into my pedal stroke, I heard that, and it didn't hurt. So when he told me to settle in, I'd settle in. When he told me to go harder, I can go harder. It was like I had no pain that day. And when I finished, getting up on the podium, listening to the national anthem, and then having Lucas and my husband come up, it was amazing. You know, 22 months ago, we had this vision, and my coach and my husband was like, well, what do you think about making a comeback? And, we thought about it, we talked about it, and I thought, well, why? Because I ended on top, and what's going to change in my life if I go back and do well, and if I go back and don't do well? It's a big risk, and I have a target on my back. And I said, well, I still love riding my bike, so what's that vision? And, that vision was having Lucas on the podium with me. And that vision was for every kid in this valley to see Lucas and her mom up there and to have inspiration to go after whatever you dream of going after. And that's not only for the children, but it's also for the mothers that think once they have a child that they have to put everything aside, because you don't. It's all about balance. And you can do it just like I did it. I think that after seeing this crowd today, one of my fears before I competed was, what would happen if I didn't get on that podium? How would I come home? And I know how I'd come home. I'd come home with all of you here, welcome me home. Whether I won or whether I was fifth, it wouldn't matter, I know it. Thank you. And when people ask me, why I live and train in Boise, Idaho. I try to tell them, I try to explain it to them. I brought my team here. I brought some of my teammates here, and they get it now. They're excelling. They're over in Europe right now. They're winning. And people just don't understand. But there's one thing that we all understand here is that Boise and Idaho are the best place that any family can be. And I'm so happy to be here. And I'm so thankful for all of you being here today. Thank you.